Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger. And my friends, today in this video, I want to talk specifically about Zangief in Street Fighter 6. So we saw the Zangief trailer, we saw some gameplay from the developers as well, and the overwhelming opinion on Zangief right now is fear and terror. Now, those looking forward to playing Zangief, they're salivating at the mouth, but those who don't like grapplers, however misplaced it may be, are absolutely terrified of his seeming potential in Street Fighter 6. And that's the crux of this video. Does Zangief actually have what it takes to succeed in Street Fighter 6? Now, this is not a tier list video or anything, because that'd be crazy, right? But simply, can Zangief pull it off this time around, as he's generally considered pretty weak by the public in the most recent outing, Street Fighter 5. And for that, you know what? Fair enough. Most people would probably put Zangief at the absolute bottom of the tier list right now in Street Fighter 5. If you had to pick a single worst character, Zangief is probably a solid pick for worst character in the game. And given that Street Fighter 5 is the most recent Street Fighter, that generally colors the opinion of, well, Zangief is always bad. And that's not always been the case. He may not be great in Street Fighter 5, but in other games in the series, he's done pretty alright for himself. Say games like Street Fighter Alpha 3. While he's not exactly at the tippity top of the tier list, he is definitely an upper tier character thanks to his fantastic normals that just dominate so much of the screen. And of course, like any good character, he has a bunch of Vism nonsense as well. And say Street Fighter 4. By the end of Street Fighter 4's lifespan, Ultra Street Fighter 4, Zangief was pretty good. Now, you'll find debate on whether or not he's just a really solid character or top tier, depending on who you talk to. Generally, the people who are scared of grapplers more will say he's top tier. But regardless, he was definitely pretty good. And if you rewind all the way back to the beginning, in vanilla Street Fighter 4, he was top 3. Now, top 3 comes with the caveat of top 1 and 2 were Sagat and Ryu, and he lost really badly to those characters. Almost to the point where there's no point to pick him if you know you're going to run up against them. But still, Street Fighter 4 overall was good to Zangief. So what I'm trying to say is just because he wasn't good for Street Fighter 5, even though Street Fighter 5 lasted for many, many years, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be bad here. So that said, let's take a look at some of his highlights and lowlights. What are the things that are potentially stronger than average in Street Fighter 6 for Zangief? And what are some things that might not work in his favor? So for things that will work for Zangief, number one with a bullet has to be Drive Rush. For a myriad of reasons, really. One, it gives a character with traditionally bad mobility good mobility. Two, any move out of a Drive Rush is more plus than it is otherwise. So say if your move was 0 on block, a Drive Rush always gives a move an additional 4 frames of block stun, so therefore he can enforce plus frames wherever. And since he's already running at you, and he's going to be doing it in your face, that means he's plus in your face. And then guess what? Guest strike or guest throw immediately on the spot all the time, forever. Now, guest strike throw is one of the building blocks of fighting games. Every character will do it to some degree, right? But obviously enough, a character that is a primary grappler, their guest strike, guest throw game is going to be a lot stronger than the average characters. Now, combine this with the fact that it looks like Zangief can Drive Rush you off just about any given knockdown. And he'll have slight advantage on you, and by the time he's coming at you, you're kind of already in that guest strike, guest throw situation. And if you block it, it's a strike off a Drive Rush. Well, geez, you're just back in that blender again anyways, aren't you? Because now he's just plus on your face. This one mechanic, more than anything else from what I've seen here, will let Zangief enforce his game plan, the thing he wants to do, the way he wants to play, better than anything else. Fish for knockdown, Drive Rush, hit a button, make them block, you're plus, make them get strike or throw, rinse and repeat till the match is over. Really that simple. This, again, is absolutely unequivocally the single best thing for Zangief that we've seen. I thought originally he was going to have a crippled Drive Rush because of this, but no, it's going to be the biggest deal. Another very big deal for Zangief, again, comes from the universal systems in the fact that parry exists in the game. Now, I know Green Hand's not in the game, but when it comes to dealing with fireballs, parry, honestly, it's just a better deal. Universal, the timing you need to do it is much less strict, to say the least, right? So, when it comes to the usual thing of he's slow, You know, he's a big body, he takes up a lot of the screen. The ability to do the old walk and block, because, you know, that's generally what big characters have to do, is just walk their way in and block, right? A lot easier. You don't cede any chip damage. In this case, it would be drive gauge chip on block. You get pushed back less when you parry a move, so you also cede less screen on block / parry. It just works out for him. Unless you're in the middle of steamroll mode, generally speaking, a grappler's game plan is going to be slower, and they have to kind of wait their turn a little bit more, so just having a parry is great. The fact that he has more toys to play with than average. He has both a secondary command grab, not just spinning pile driver by itself, and the fact that Thunderstorm, his kick counter, actually works in this game is going to be a big deal, as we now know it catches all grounded kicks, even ones like this one that hop on the ground a little bit, still counts. All grounded kicks get caught by the Thunderstorm kick counter. Things like the atomic suplex, this is this guy right here. I do know that the startup is slower, just going by the frame data here, just counting frame by frame, than the regular spinning pile driver, so therefore it almost certainly gives you different options, right? Maybe better pressure on knockdown, maybe more damage, but regardless, having more command grabs to work with is certainly better. Simple as that. More options equal more better. And for a character that, especially in Street Fighter V, hurt to have options, having this is definitely a blessing, especially that right there, just using the jumping light kick kind of tick your way in for a grab. A slower grab helps with those kind of situations. Spinning pile driver, maybe they're in block stun protection that would whiff, but here it connects. So it can also give you all new tick grab setups. And as for the kick counter, oh, well, it'd be so edge case, it'd be so niche, right? Well, you know, have you ever heard of this character called Dalsum? Zangief is not a fan of Dalsum, and just to give you a little bit of a spoiler warning here, Dalsum stand medium kick still exists in this game. If it's anything like the Street Fighter V incarnation, it's going to be one of the most oppressive buttons in the game. And now if Zangief just can actually counter that whenever, and it vortexes Dalsum in, and he gets the knockdown, then he can pressure him after the fact, that alone will be amazing. Maybe it doesn't need to be a good move for every single matchup. Not every move has to be good for everything, right? But in certain matchups, especially where he suffers, I think he'll be glad to have it this time around. And now for even more things that can help him in neutral, once again, these positives just keep raining in. How about his new and improved spinning heel kick? Because, one, it's a punish counter move that juggles, which is already good enough in and of itself. And also, the hitbox seemingly is about what it looks like, because it can also crush lows. Like this low Marissa goes over it clear as day. So any given low in a poke war, say like Ryu's going for crouch medium kick and the fireball all day, if you know what's coming, easy do. Spinning heel kick over it, get a combo, right? And maybe even for, say, that Dalsum stand medium kick as well. Maybe you can do that. But this gives him more tools to fish for in neutral, more just back and forth, flit, hit button, hope I get close, and go from there, right? This actually gives him opportunities to like do big brain plays besides just rushing in for the grab. Things like this let his neutral get a lot more nuanced and gives him a lot of potential counterplay against certain characters in certain matchups, people who like spamming low attacks. It's another big win for him. And there's just a lot of other little things, like looks like standing, charged heavy punches back and has armor, and that in and of itself, that's not new or anything, right? But the fact that armor now, outside of the universal mechanic of drive impact, armor is seemingly very rare in Street Fighter 6. And effectively, like Zangief and Marissa, that's kind of about it. Like these are the only two characters you're really going to realistically see any armored moves out of. Unless they're hiding stuff for certain characters that we don't know about, like say Honda, who has almost no footage. So a precious few characters can get armor without having to spend the meter on the drive impact. That's a bonus. So a lot of upside for sure. Now, of course, every character has downsides, and some of it's going to be the easy stuff. Like one, he's a very big character. He's probably the biggest character. So he's going to have a lot of the usual big boy hurt box issues. If there's like instant overhead fuzzies in this game, he's certainly going to be the character that'll suffer from it the most. Jank cross-ups, Zangief only combos. These are the things that come with the territory when you're an exceptionally large character in a fighting game. This kind of stuff I expect. But now on some more Street Fighter 6 specific angles that might be an issue. And one's directly linked to his perhaps greatest strength. That's the drive rush. Because the thing about the drive rush is it ain't free. Like I mentioned, he's probably going to want to aim for it after every single knockdown, and probably some situations that are knockdown related as well, just cruising through neutral. And the more you do it, the more you do it, the more you do it, you're paying for this. And sure, it might be absolutely to your benefit to keep going, but that means the more you're putting the pressure on the enemy, the more you're running out of gas. Because, well, the drive meter, the single worst thing that can happen to you in Street Fighter 6, isn't getting hit by a random move, it's going into the burnout state. When you're in burnout state, to quote the wise words of one Scott Steiner, your chances of winning drastic go down. Like, yes, it's by no means a guaranteed loss, but boy howdy, you'd be hard pressed to find yourself in a worse situation in Street Fighter 6 than being in the burnout state. You're locked out of your moves, everything does chip damage now, everything's more plus, it literally changes the frame data on block. Moves that are negative on block can become plus on block against someone who's in burnout. No matter how you swing it, it's something you want to avoid at all possible costs. So now, from say Zangief's perspective, the thing you want to aim for the most is what will potentially put you in the dirt, right? So even though you want to drive rush every single time, there might be times where you got to hold back. And knowing that Zangief is potentially drive meter hungry, certain strategies might appear. Like if you use a drive impact in the middle of a combo, it actually drains drive meter. Like it doesn't need to be the big flashy hit. You can use it in the middle of a combo, it drains their bar. So perhaps a bar draining style playstyle will become viable against Zangief. Who knows for sure, but in the process of winning and steamrolling the opponent by drive rushing and working your way in nonstop, you're also making yourself that much more susceptible to burnout. So it's something Zangief might have to keep in mind. And Zangief might have another potentially large issue with that exact mindset. So we saw before he can do stuff like his level 2 super into his level 1 super. And level 1 super is really cool, like anti-air super, does a big power bomb, all that stuff. It looks really cool. There is a potential issue with it though. If it is indeed just an anti-air like grab super, that means you can't use it defensively against someone who's on the ground. And if you're in burnout, that might mean certain setups against him might be nigh on guaranteed if he only has 1 meter left to defend himself with. Because say something like, for a lot of characters, stand heavy punch in the drive impact, right? If you have meter to drive impact back, it's not a problem. Or if you have an invincible reversal, it's not a problem. But for say in those situations where you're in burnout, well, okay, at the very least, level 1 supers are strike invincible across the board as far as I can tell. So, okay, well then, if I'm burnout, I can't drive impact you back, but I'll do my level 1 super. That's my way out. Because I can't drive impact, I can't parry. In situations like stand heavy punch and drive impact, you usually can't jump out or throw out because there's quite a tight window there. But you still have those options. But if Zangief only has a bar left and he's in burnout, he might just be legitimately screwed with no possible options to defend himself. And if he's up against the wall with, the wall bounce from the drive impact and he's in burnout plus the dizzy, all that, that means a potentially game over scenario. And there'd be literally nothing he could do about it compared to other characters with ground-based level 1 supers. Now, admittedly, this is a little bit of theory crafting here, right? But if it is as presented what we know, that's kind of how it's going to wind up. Perhaps like his level 2, he has like a held version where he can get a grounded version of his level 1 super instead of the anti-air version. We don't know. But potentially rough times ahead. Granted, it's a pretty specific scenario, but it's certainly not an impossible or rare scenario. Basically, it's something to keep in mind and something to think about. So in the end, yeah, a couple downsides, but if you watched the video, and hopefully you did, otherwise how would you get here, right? It seems to be a lot of potential upsides for Zangief. So like, yeah, big slow character problems, those will still persist, but his ability to just charge forward, the universal mechanics just really working for him in this game, and to a degree where it seems he benefits just a little bit more than some of the rest of the cast, this is all just fantastic stuff for him. Just straight up, the future seems pretty bright for Zangief in Street Fighter 6. Compared to the bad Street Fighter 5 version of himself, he has more options thanks to the universal mechanics, and he has more options because he just actually has more options. Like, he has more moves, he can do more things in Street Fighter 6 compared to Street Fighter 5. So in the end, those are my thoughts on the matter. Once again, a lot of theory crafting here to be sure, but hey, gotta do something to pass the time till Street Fighter 6, right? All that said though, I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Post it in the comments below, and otherwise, we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.